Welcome back, everybody, to another shocking episode of Lockdown 23 in 1. That's right, 3 shocking stories is coming your way today. 1, we got an update on Mr. Funston, the inmate that made the parole with those 16 counts of filthy crimes against children. Yep, looks like the system found a loophole to keep him where he belongs. Also got some courtroom footage of an OnlyFans model disrespecting the courtroom. Not to mention the victim's family, because you know they're watching it. And last but not least, we got a honey bun scandal coming from jail. So let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new to the channel to enjoy all things lockup and crime related, then this is absolutely where you need to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my beautifully assorted playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. And I apologize, look, I did this intro before I even made the whole video, so in the video you're going to see me with more of a beard and a different shirt. Any other creators wait till the very end to do their intros? Let me know. Alright, the title of this article is A Child Molester's Release from Prison Set Off a Political Firestorm. Now he's back in jail. Thank God for that, and if I were to guess, the video that we did possibly helped bring awareness to get him back into Slammer. But it says the release of a serial child molester from state prison after he was granted parole has snowballed into a political fight that has angered victims and prosecutors and could lead to rollbacks of California's laws that increase the chances of parole for aging inmates.
I disagree with the parole board's decision to release Mr. Funston, as I think many people do. So in these kinds of cases, I'm always concerned that someone with these charges and this propensity and proclivity for committing these kinds of crimes would victimize someone else again.
Yeah, they need to go in there and amend that money, man. It don't matter how old you are. Certain crimes should land you in prison the rest of your life, never see the streets again. But David Funston was granted parole from state prison after serving nearly 27 years for sexually assaulting young girls in Sacramento County. And in my first video, I couldn't get into the details of what this guy did. He's a true monster. 100% authentic Candyman kidnapper. Every parent's worst nightmare, right? And they gave him parole. This is unreal. But either way, the article continues saying Governor Newsom appointed many of the state parole board members, but opposed Funston's release and unsuccessfully asked the board to reconsider its decision. Oh, okay, so it seems like old Governor Newsom didn't want him out either. That's good. But it was out of his control. That's kind of strange, man. I feel like the governor could kind of, trump all those guys. It says now prosecutors appear to have found a loophole that could keep him detained. After leaving the California Institution for Men in Chino on Thursday, the 64-year-old was transferred immediately to Placer County Jail and held without bail to face a new charge: sexual assaults on a 5-year-old girl from 1995, who was one of the prosecution's witnesses at his 1999 trial in Sacramento.
We filed the charges and sought to get him into custody as soon as possible. We would do that on a case like this regardless, but given the exigent circumstances of his immediate release, it made it move that much quicker.
The Placer County DA says they decided not to charge Funston 3 decades ago to spare another child from testifying, but she will now as an adult.
If convicted, he could again face a sentence of up to life in prison, with little prospect of ever being released. Under California's elderly parole law, inmates who are 50 or older are eligible for parole can ask the State Board of Parole hearings for release after serving at least 20 years, a request the board granted to Funston last year after turning him down in 2022. So that means the loophole here is if he's convicted of this crime from 1995, he's going back to prison, and that parole ain't gonna stand. He's got to do, 20-some years for this crime now before he can be considered for the elderly parole program again. If he's convicted, if I were to guess, that will be the end of Mr. Funston's story. Unless he gets got in a penitentiary, then we'll be talking about him again.
Mr. Funston was already being prosecuted and convicted and sentenced to life sentences, and in those days life sentences meant just that, life sentences.
Shout out to all the sheriffs, prosecutors, and former prosecutors for making sure that this monster stays where he belongs. But moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, we got an OnlyFans model, creator, I don't know what you call these individuals, but she's in the courtroom for some treacherous crimes, but she don't seem to give a damn. This is Courtney Clenny, who's accused of second-degree murder in the 2022 stabbing death of her boyfriend, Christian Abumsely, hopefully I pronounced that right, has drawn attention for her behavior during court proceedings. In February 2026, during a Miami Circuit Court motions hearing, Clenny was seen blowing kisses to the gallery, sticking her tongue out and making playful faces at the defense table while attorneys discussed evidence. This girl right here is a true monster, and who the hell knows where that tongue has been? I want no parts of it. Keep that thing away from my damn monitor. But for her to be doing all this stuff in the courtroom, if I were to guess, she's gonna get smoked. And she knows it, right? It's probably signed, sealed, and delivered. Already, all the evidence is probably stacked completely against her. And typically when people know that, there ain't no really, no way around it. They do whatever in the courtroom. Matter of fact, she probably went into the courtroom thinking she was gonna do that to get some kind of pen pal action. Little promo type of situation, right? But the 29-year-old is accused of fatally stabbing her boyfriend in their Miami high-rise apartment in April 2022. Clinton maintains she acted in self-defense, claiming she threw a knife at him, while prosecutors allege she stabbed him in a downward plunge during a tumultuous relationship. She's been held without bond and is awaiting trial. Crazy situation, huh, homegirl? Like I said, if I were to guess, is gonna get that long L-note lullaby called life. Alright, now last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, I say we just go ahead and watch the news channel, and I'll give my honest 2 cents along the way. But prepare yourself. It's unlike any prison story I think I've ever heard, or ever thought I would hear. Almost like something out of a fairy tale.
A law enforcement officer with a long career now facing charges over stolen honey buns. Yeah, you heard that right. Stolen pastries.
Bobby,
WFO 48's
chill.
investigative reporter Nick Ballinger spoke to Jarvis Moore exclusively after he turned himself into the Morgan County jail last week. Nick, Moore believes this is retaliation, and he was just following orders.
Well, Liz, Jarvis Moore says he doesn't even eat honey buns because he's a type 2 diabetic. He believes this goes much deeper than those 200 or so calorie snacks. He thinks despite
200, I think that's the non-iced. Those white face, I think, are like 11 hundo. And yeah, if he was eating one of those every night after shift, I'd believe anybody'd probably become a diabetic. I'm just playing. I eat one just about every day, and I'm just fine. Honestly, the white face honey buns are my guilty pleasures.
He believes this goes much deeper than those 200 or so calorie snacks. He thinks despite 24 years of service in Morgan County,
Jeez,
this
24?
is retaliation.
I just want the people to know that I didn't do this. And it is killing me to be plastered all over the world that I'm this and I'm that and I'm not that.
Every day for over 2 decades, Jarvis Moore walked into the Morgan County Jail and went to work.
I believe this man. I think these honey buns are going a bit deeper than they should. But this dude worked in this jail for 24 years, and now he's getting felony charged with 7 counts of extortion.
Done everything that there is to be done there. Something that I wanted to do ever since I was a child.
But on Friday, he walked through a different door, turning himself in on 7 counts of felony extortion. I've contacted Morgan County officials to get to the bottom of the charges, but due to courthouse renovations, the filings are delayed.
Always delayed by renovations, but look, remind me never to step foot in Morgan County. They ain't got no kind of give, they play by the book. Did this dude in with 7 felony counts, man, after 24 years of service. Just imagine what the hell they would do to someone like me. Bury me under the prison, man. Jeez, I'm never going to Morgan County.
Filings are delayed. Moore was told this stems from his firing in September.
And they told me that I had was being terminated for taking honey bun and store items from inmates.
You heard that right. Honey buns. Moore doesn't deny taking the honey buns, but he says he was simply following orders.
This idea's been going on for years and years.
He says when inmates started a fire in the jail, it was policy to take commissary from inmates who started the fire and give to others.
The honey buns were actually given to another inmate to clean up, or the items.
Oh, hell no. That's damn straight up theft, sir. And if I were to guess, somehow falls into the lines of extortion. Even if they were told to do so, I think you might need to read your handbook a little bit. You can't take people's property and give it to someone else, especially if they just bought it. I don't know. I've been to prison 2 times, and that's what I always thought. So if they got like video footage or witnesses, anything, that can prove that this guy was doing these kind of things or extortion of any kind, man, his goose is cooked. He might get a first-round draft pick to the old state penitentiary. I don't know.
Nothing ever kept in possession. It was used as a tool to stop burning in the jail.
Moore and his attorney Scott Morrow believe this is much bigger than 7 felony counts for 7 honey buns.
It's retaliatory 100%. His problems began specifically when the John Scott incident occurred.
Now, the correctional officer is saying that all this is actually in retaliation because of a leaked video of an inmate who passed away in the jail. He's saying that they think that he was involved with the situation and it held him back not only in the jail, but eventually led to these charges out of, like I said, retaliation. But it sounded like it's just like the cell block, man. Whenever those honey buns are involved, anything's possible.
They wanted to keep their thumb on Jarvis and keep him down, and they came up with this honey bun criminal charge.
A spokesperson from the sheriff's office told me this investigation into stolen honey buns started in August and was turned over to the DA in November before the video was posted.
Well, if those dates check out, then they're definitely not coming at this guy over retaliation, because you heard what he said? The leaked videotape came out after the DA started investigating this honey bun extortion ring. And if that's the case, then his whole defense pretty much just went out the window. But let us not forget, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed today's lineup of prison and crime news stories. Stay tuned though, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the next one's going to be a lineup of courtroom sentencings and some body cam footage of the situation with King Shine. I don't know if you remember him, Latin King that I interviewed from Florida. Man, I just watched a little bit of it today, I'm not going to lie. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it with y'all. So be ready and on the lookout for all of that, and the only way to do that is by hitting that subscribe and notification bell, setting it to all. And as always, until the next time, y'all be easy, be safe, and stay free.